Did you know even the president has limits? Let's talk about executive orders that have gotten overturned in history. Let's dive in. If we go back to 1917, we have Executive Order 2594. President Woodrow Wilson established the Committee on Public Information (CPI) to influence public opinion regarding World War I. The CPI was disbanded after the war, and its activities were criticized for infringing on free speech and press freedoms. Next, in 1935, FDR's National Industrial Recovery Act aimed to boost the economy during the Great Depression. The Supreme Court? They said it was a no-go in Schechter Poultry Corp. v. United States. The court found that the act gave too much legislative power to the president, violating the Constitution's separation of powers. This decision was a significant blow to FDR's New Deal, but it underscored the importance of maintaining a balance between the branches of government. Then, in 1942, we had Executive Order 9066. Folks, this is the Franklin D. Roosevelt order that authorized the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. It is historically relevant to note, although initially upheld by the Supreme Court in Korematsu v. United States, it was later widely criticized and formally overturned by the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, which apologized for the internment and provided reparations to survivors. Here's a good twist. Truman again in 1948 with Executive Order 9981, desegregating the armed forces. It wasn't overturned, but faced massive resistance and delays. This order was a monumental step towards civil rights, but it took years for full implementation due to opposition from within the military and society. Now let's look at President Nixon's Executive Order 11615 in 1971, which imposed wage and price controls to combat inflation. The order was initially effective, but as inflation continued to rise, it faced significant opposition and was eventually phased out. The economic measures were seen as an overreach of executive power, and the policy was abandoned in favor of other economic strategies. Then we move on to 1952. President Truman tried to seize control of steel mills during the Korean War with Executive Order 10340. The Supreme Court said, "Nope, that's unconstitutional." This landmark case, known as Youngstown Sheet and Tube Co. v. Sawyer, set a precedent for the limits of presidential power. The court ruled that Truman had overstepped his authority, emphasizing that the president cannot take possession of private property without explicit authorization from Congress. Moving on to 1981, President Reagan issued Executive Order 12291, which required federal agencies to submit their regulations for review by the Office of Management and Budget. This order was challenged in court, and while it wasn't entirely overturned, it faced significant modifications to limit its scope. In 1995, President Clinton issued Executive Order 12954, which aimed to prevent federal contractors from hiring permanent replacements for striking workers. However, this order was overturned by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, which ruled that it conflicted with the National Labor Relations Act. This decision underscored the importance of adhering to established labor laws and the limits of executive power in labor relations. Moving to 2001, President George W. Bush's Executive Order 13233 restricted access to the records of former presidents. This order faced significant opposition, and was eventually revoked by President Obama in 2009 with Executive Order 13489, restoring public access to presidential records. The revocation highlighted the importance of transparency and accountability in government. In 2014, President Obama's Executive Order 13672 prohibited discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in federal contracting. While not overturned, it faced legal challenges and opposition from various groups. This order was a significant step towards ensuring equal rights in the workplace, demonstrating the ongoing struggle for civil rights and the role of executive orders in shaping social policy, which further illustrate the ongoing tension between executive actions and judicial review. Fast forward to 2017, President Trump's travel ban, Executive Order 13769, restricted entry for citizens from several Muslim-majority countries. Multiple courts blocked it, leading to a revised version. The initial ban faced widespread protests and legal challenges, with critics arguing it was discriminatory and unconstitutional. Eventually, a modified version of the ban was upheld by the Supreme Court in 2018, but not without significant controversy and debate, highlighting the dynamic nature of constitutional governance. Each instance reflects the checks and balances that are fundamental to the U.S. political system, ensuring that no single branch of government can operate without oversight. These cases show the system of checks and balances at work, ensuring the president stays within constitutional limits. Understanding these historical moments helps us appreciate the complexities of governance and the importance of judicial oversight in maintaining democracy. So if you like this, smash that like button, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at 99rights_online for more legal quickies. Stay informed and stay curious.